Welcome back to Terrible at Fishing with Michael Ruffino. Ken is indisposed this week. We'll see him next week. So this week, you get to stick with me. We're going to talk about everything about the Derby and much, much more. Let's talk about fishing. The water is colder right now. The rivers are hopping right now for those trout. So hit those rivers. The Williamsons still open for business. So remember, single hook on the Williamsons. The Wood's doing really, really well too. If you can get over to the Rogue, so much fun. And also the lakes are doing really well. The trout are coming up. So please work the trout with small spinners, and also my favorite power bait, which is Tequila Sunrise. It's black and purple. It works really, really well. Go small, go light, bounce it off the bottom, and just enjoy catching. Remember, we're going to talk about in this week's show September 21st, and that is Saturday, September 21st, for the Lake of the Woods Derby. Free fishing weekend, the 21st and 22nd. So grab a rod, grab the kids, grab the family, and go out, find some water, and get your lines wet. And now, let's start the show. All right, welcome back to Terrible at Fishing. So, we have so much to talk about with the upcoming Derby on the 21st. And the 21st at Lake of the Woods is a free fishing weekend, 21st and 22nd. And really, what you want to do is catch the biggest live fish, the most in length with a tiebreaker in weight, in a limit of 5 trout, and then the most perch. And then, of course, I'll be giving prizes away to ugliest fish, prettiest fish, funkiest fish, whatever. So we're going to talk about how to catch fish, in the lake. And really, I'm feeling much better. 2 hospital visits and lots of drugs. We're ready to go. So let's talk about how to catch little fish, which are the yellow perch. And really, it's not that hard. This isn't that hard. To catch a perch, it requires very little skill. That's what's so much fun about it. You could use a 1-inch little plastic grub, just a little grub, and put it on a crappie jig with no other weight. No other weight. Just let it float down. And let it get down to the bottom. Do a little jigging up and down, really slow. Up and then pause. Then jig it up and down, really slow, and then pause. And wait for the bite. It will nibble, and it does nibble. It'll actually sort of like that. That's the bite. It's a double bite. And when you feel that, set the hook and reel them up. Now, what kind of gear do you need for catching perch or in this contest? Well, you really don't need a whole lot. I mean, a stick and a line is pretty much all you need, but you want to be able to feel the bite. So you want a very light tackle rod, and it could be something as simple as getting one in the store for like $20. It's just a simple rod. Just run the line down. You're going to use monofilament or fluorocarbon, and a clear line, and run it down and just start pulling them up. Now, the beautiful thing about free fishing weekend, you don't have to pay for a license, and you can do 2 pulls. So you can just start pulling them up. And that's the fun part about fishing the Derby. Now, I will be there, and it's going to be so much fun. I mean, I've got some spinners I hand painted. I have some I have some soft plastics, some hard plastics. I'm going to try to set up a paint booth so you can see me paint and make baits there in between all the registering and everything of everybody. But you are going to have such a good time at Lake of the Woods, and I would suggest getting there early. Um, the the Derby starts at 8 a.m. and it finishes at 2 p.m. So you got to bring everything back to me by 2 p.m. so we can start counting, weighing, measuring stuff. It's a lot of I get rather stinky, towards the end of the day because I'm counting hundreds and hundreds of fish. And you are going to really have a good time doing this. So we're going to do trout by limit by weight, and then of course a tiebreaker on, if there's a tie on weight, we're going to do it by length as a tiebreaker. So, and then the largest live fish, which will probably be a bass. And at 3 o'clock to 7, they're going to have an outdoor barbecue, which is absolutely stunning. I love the cornbread. Love cornbread. And they're having a live concert by a group called Sussy. I will be at the marina. So we're going to set up. I usually do it right at the corner there where the tree is coming out of the marina. That's where I'll set up the table and get everything set up for you guys to register and get out on the water and just have a good time all day long. Really, we're looking. Let's take a look at the weather for. I don't know if it goes that far, does it? It really doesn't go that far, but it looks good because on the 20th it shows a nice clear sky at 75 degrees. My weather report doesn't go farther than that. So we're looking really good. And by the way, I'm recording this on September 11th, which happens to be the day I turned 60. I know it. I actually made it to 60 years old, everybody. I really didn't think I was going to make it. Really didn't think we were going to make it to 60. But I did it. It's a milestone because in my 50s, I started it on life support, and I ended it, unfortunately, putting one of my pets to sleep the day before yesterday. So it was a bad decade, really bad decade for me. But it was a very good decade in some aspects. One, I'm still around. Two, I'm here in Klamath Falls. And I get to talk to you all. I get to enjoy life the way I want it. And to really enjoy the outdoors. So when it comes to at the fishing derby, this is some techniques or some strategies that I would tell you to employ. One, try to get your line out into try to get out on the water. I mean, that would be really good to get out on the water. So if you've got a tube or a raft or any kind of boat flotation, get out there, not very far. You really don't have to go very far. Just go over where there's a lot of vegetation down there and start pulling up fish and bring something to put it in. Bring a basket, a bag, a bucket, something to put all your fish in. Believe me, you're going to catch a lot of fish. So when you go there, if you can get your line out there, and by the way, a really good spot too, and you don't have to get out on the water, is over at Aspen Point, Aspen Bay, where Aspen Ramp is. There's a little bay there with a little point. There's a ton of vegetation there. There's a ton of perch there. Lots of perch there. So you could just toss it out there with a bobber and let it go down about 2-3 feet, because it's only about 3 or 4 feet deep. And just go out there and just start pulling them in. And remember, bring a bucket. Bring a bucket, please. Yeah, I mean, a stringer is not going to last. because you're going to fill the stringer up really, really quick. And you can probably catch a bass there or two. Now, the nice thing, keep the bass alive because it's got to be releasable. Now, if you can't keep it alive for very long, bring it to me so I can register it and we can put it in the water at the marina and make sure it swims away. So even if you can't keep something alive for very long, put it in a bucket of water, bring it to me so we can go ahead and register it and release it. You don't have to bring it at the end of the day. All right. You just don't. And if you can't stay till the end of the day, okay. I mean, you can come to see me with your catch at any time. What I would suggest, though, is to stay till the end of the day, because at 2:00, I'll be giving away a lot of prizes, and I want to give away. Well, we're going to give away all the prizes. I don't know how many we'll have, but I always try to get the kids a prize. Make sure that all the kids are taken care of. So please try to stay the entire day and enjoy the day. I mean, looks like we're going to have a beautiful, beautiful day. Like I said, the forecast up until the 20th, it shows 75 degrees on Friday the 20th. And so I'd assume, because it's going up in temperature, 62, 65, 71, 75. So I assume it's going to be at least 75, maybe 78 degrees on that Saturday. Should be a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day out on the lake. So bring a small rod. All right. Doesn't have to be fancy. Doesn't have to be fancy at all. And if you're going to fish from shore, try to find a vegetated area, which is usually if you can cast it out far enough over at Sunset, that area right there, there's a grass line, works really good. Just to the west of the dock at the Sunset ramp, tons of vegetation. That's almost like the Aspen area. There's tons of vegetation. You will catch a lot of fish right there, right on the west side, just on the other side of the ramp and by the dock. You will catch a bunch. So just walk out on the dock and start pulling them up, put them in a bucket. I mean, these are great spots to fish. If you get on the water, better yet. I mean, there's tons of fish out there. So, and then if you can get deeper, if you're out on the water, go deeper and go very, very slow. I would use a Ned rig. A Ned rig is sort of a half of a Senko worm. It's about a 4-inch worm. And you put it on this mushroom jig, so that makes it stand up on the bottom of the bottom of the lake. And it just wiggles. And both trout and bass will hit it. And perch, of course. Perch will hit anything. I mean, if they can put their mouth around it, they go ahead and grab it. So what a wonderful way to spend a day. And it's free. You'll have free music at 3:00. So after the tournament, after I give away all these wonderful prizes, and I'm exhausted and I won't have a voice, I'm going to try to bring some really fun stuff. I did order some things that I hopefully will come before the 21st. And one is my best-selling book on fishing. So I'll have a book signing if the books arrive on time. And those are only going to be, $10, I think, for a book signed by me. Yeah. Whatever you want to do. And then, we'll have a lot of free baits and stuff like that I've created for everybody there. And the spoons are really, really good. I mean, I got a whole bunch of them. I'm looking around right now, and I could probably paint another 15 or so, and make sure that I have plenty of spoons, because a spoon is really a fantastic, all-inclusive bait lure. Although I have to make sure I got all the hooks for them, because hooks are expensive. I want you to know. All these things I contribute, except for the books. The books, you have to pay for the book, but Everything else is, for the most part, all the fishing stuff is contributed by me, and then by Lake of the Woods, and they've got wonderful prices. They've got I think they got an all-day rental, a weekend getaway, gift card, all for the big prizes at for the fishing derby too. So, and the barbecue is just fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about what's been going on. I have been very, very, very sick with COVID. It hit my lungs pretty hard. Been in the hospital a couple times, but I'm out. And we've had some unfortunate tragedies in our family, where we had to put one pet down. And my brother, my younger brother, believe it or not, he's only 58, and but he's suffering from dementia. So I'm very concerned about my little brother. And so some bad news this last week, bad way to end my 50s, but hopefully heading into my 60s, now that we're here, we can go forward with some good stuff, I hope, and weather any storms that things come about. So as for my fly fishing, so that's very cool. I had to postpone it because I've been so sick, but I've got a tutor, and he's going to teach me how to cast. So when you see me out in Moore Park waving a stick, I'm not, it's actually raining today, but, I'm not doing a rain dance. I'm just trying to learn how to cast my fly rod. And I really appreciate the help, over at Parker's Rod and Gun. Dave was really a nice guy. He made sure that my setup was correct for me because I'm right-handed, not left-handed. And I showed him how I wanted to use it. He took it apart. He redid the drag. He re-spooled it. What I love about living in a small town or a community is that every one of us take care of each other, don't we? And the reason I do this show, and the reason I do the derby, the reason I give to the community, and I teach my children to contribute to the community and volunteer in it every single month, is because it's important to give. It just is. But to see it, give it back, to receive it, like Dave did for me, and also another great shop that I always love going into is the Ledge. He does. Mike there is the owner, and he's always taking care of me. When I almost died on my kayak, he repaired my kayak, and just you have to really take it. Go to these places and see that these people are they're your neighbors, and they treat you like your neighbors. So it's not sterile, I come from, I was born and raised in a small town, but I ended up living in big cities, and I had both the life of both. And big cities, they don't care too much about the community. And we're on a community radio station right now. Gold Country is a community radio station that services the community, and it helps the community. These shows that you listen to and are part, you enjoy, I hope. These are not paid. Okay, these are done simply because the people that are doing these shows want to, and we want, it's not bravado, it's not ego or anything like that. I've it's just not that. It's just that we want to be part of the community, and we want to help. So this is, Terrible at Fishing is sort of a little way of helping people enjoy the outdoors. And I have, I've got all these projects that I'm part of. And this is just one of many. And it's a lot of, I hope you guys enjoy Terrible at Fishing and my YouTube channel. I try to put 2 or 3 videos a week on my YouTube channel, and from fishing to, sales someplace, or, good deals or something like that. Where I open something and then and show you guys how I use it and stuff like that. But you'll really like, probably my favorite, and I'll talk about this a little bit. There is a multiple of playlists. I have about 1,500 videos on my YouTube channel. One playlist is called Not Anymore, because it's terrible at fishing, and this is not anymore. That particular playlist will teach somebody the basics of fishing, from spinning rods to how to use a bait caster, to different lines, how to remove a hook from a fish, how to tie a knot, how to set the hook on a fish, how to present baits to fish. All sorts of videos that I enjoyed making out on the lake, and you get to see me catch fish and get to see, a lesson applied. Hopefully something that would help you. Lots of different content too, where we talk about jigs, we talk about lures, hard baits, soft baits, all these things on Terrible at Fishing. And then I do a review at all, I think, lots of different lakes and lots of little areas around this area. And say in this part of Oregon, I review all these different spots in order to help you see what you can catch over there, and then how to catch it. If you want to catch big bass, okay, where do you go for big bass? So there's some really good big bass over at Dog Lake. I know, Dog Lake. But Dog Lake is a really cool little hidden secret over by Drew's Reservoir. Then there's the one nobody wants me to tell you about, which is Willow Valley, which is south of Gerber. If you want to catch big bass, if you want to catch trout, big trout, all right, we got big trout, and we got Diamond Lake. Diamond Lake's got big old giant trout, and we have Fish Lake, and we got all these, and 4 Mile, and all these different little lakes for big trout, natural trout, and then of course the Williamsons. If you love to, I'm going to be doing more and more river fishing as I get more into fly fishing. But the Williamsons is incredible for red-banded trout and for rainbow trout. But the red-banded are so much fun. And there's one video with me catching a 21.5-inch on my kayak on the Williamsons. And there, and then over at Lake of the Woods, that's my lake of choice because of my health issues. So they all know what to do in case I actually, keel over or have a whatever. One time I went to Willow Lake and a couple of years ago, and I had respiratory failure. So by the time I got to the ramp, I was a mess. I was in the hospital for a week. But fortunately, a couple of campers, again, community, they helped me load up, and everything was fine. And I survived. I survived. That's what I do. Tell my kids that's what I do. Been a tough decade. I'm through it. Now we start a whole new decade. 60. I don't think I look 60. Definitely don't act 60. So, and I'm losing weight. So the pooch, the belly, going bye-bye. So hopefully in a year, I'll be down to my slim usual self. I used to be, I was never a big guy growing up. Never. It's just something that happened when I got really, really sick this last decade. So let's talk a little bit about colors out on the lake. Now, if you use a bait like worms, just tear off a piece of the worm. So you get a dozen worms in a container. They're the night crawlers are huge. They'll last you. They'll last you. Just tear off a piece and put that meat on the hook and stick it in the water. You will catch a fish. If you want to use a soft plastic, it's just like a curly tail, 1-inch curly tail. You can use a green pumpkin or a watermelon. These are colors that are sort of a brown and green colors. You could try red. Sometimes the perch will go for reds or chartreuse, which is sort of a bright yellow. So they'll go ahead and do that. They work really, really well, but I try to go with more of the muted green or browns in order to catch them. Now, if you want to try to catch a trout from the shore, and you could do that because the water's getting nice and cold right now, and by the time you get out there, they should be able to be caught near the shore. I would go with a spoon or a spinner. And I'm talking like a rooster tail, something that imitates an insect. It has a feather on it, and go very small. I mean, we're talking 1/16 of an ounce, 1/8 of an ounce. Do not add any more weight, but you're going to have to go with a very light rod with very light line, like 4-pound test. And so you could get it out there and just toss it out there. I mean, at heaviest, maybe 1/8 of an ounce, to get it out there. But hopefully there'll be no wind. Not too likely. It's Lake of the Woods. But get it out there and start. And when you retrieve it, let it sink. All right. Please let the spinner sink about 4 or 5 seconds. So it gets down in the middle of the water column, and just activate the spinner. You can feel it give resistance on the tip, and just start reeling it in. And you just a nice steady reel. Just activate the spinner. You don't have to burn it. You don't have to go real fast. You don't have to go real slow. I mean, pausing it sometimes helps a bite because fish are opportunists. So when they see a pause, they hit it. But use a small spinner. Now, the rooster tails, typically in Lake of the Woods, silver works really well. So if you go with a nice silver spinner, works well. I've also used a rainbow looking spinner, red, white, things like that, blue, and it actually does pretty good. It's got a good flash to it. The spoons that I paint are red and white because they have a good flash to them. One side is all silver, and then the other side is striped red and white with specks, with flakes in it. So it gives it a little bit more shine to it. But you'll be able to use spoons, spinners, again, finesse, very finesse. The bass are not going to be near the shore. They're going to be very, very, very deep. That's why you use, if you get out there on a boat to catch a live fish, more than likely you're going to be you're fishing for a bass. I would use soft plastics, especially a Ned rig. A Ned rig, I was telling you, is just about a 4-inch worm on a mushroom style jig. Just toss it out there, let it sink, and let it sit for a minute or two. Bounce it off the bottom a minute or two, and you will get a hit. These are really good sound strategies in order for you to catch fish for the Derby. And I want you all to catch fish for the Derby because I want to give away a lot of prizes, and I might just give a prize to the guy that got skunked. I don't know. I'll just do it. I just have so much fun at the Derby. And the Derby is just going to be, we'll do a live broadcast on Terrible at Fishing for the Derby. I always do a live broadcast. And we'll try to do some recording and make a really nice little highlight film of the day. And we'll try to get some nice releases in the water too. So we'll bring my GoPro and we'll just do some really fun stuff that way too. So it's going to be a blast. You really will. I'll try to entertain you because there's one thing you've learned from me already. I always have something to say. And we'll do some instructionals. right there, on bait making, how to make a spinner. I'm going to show you guys. I'll be making spinners, at the booth. And then of course I'll be, try to set up the paint. So you can see me paint some of these baits that I hand poured, and they're beautiful because come next month is going to be a lot of fun, because next month the kokanee are going to spawn. And if you've never seen kokanee spawn, go to my Terrible at Fishing on YouTube, and you can see underwater footage of what it looks like next month. Those kokanee come up, and the big brown trout start to come up and feed on them. So they actually start hitting in the very shallows all day long. It's just a lot of fun to catch a big giant brown. We suggest you put it back though. We don't want you to keep the brown trout. Technically you can, but we don't want you to, because they're really old and they've survived and they're fun to catch. So we put them back is what we do. There are some lakes like Diamond Lake, it's illegal for you to keep a brown trout. So if you catch a brown trout in Diamond Lake, you have to put it back. There are some fish like in Fish Lake, the tiger trout, those are put in there in order for population control. If you catch one, they're beautiful fish, very good fighters. Got to put it back. So there are some fish that you can't just keep. But at Lake of the Woods, you pretty much can keep anything that you catch. You're going to catch a lot of fish. That's the beauty of it. So let's go on to some of the methods of using a spinner. I told you, a straight retrieve, maybe with some pauses. I like doing what's called a sawtooth retrieve, where it actually I will pause it, restart it, let it drop, pause it, and just, I want it to yo-yo on the way in, like riding a wave, a sine curve, coming back into me. And I want it to get as close to the bottom as possible without snagging. No. You'll probably lose some spinners. I know. I lose spinners all the time. So have more than one. That's the thing. If you need one and you're out, come to the booth. I'll try to make one for you. We'll try to get you in there. But definitely buy a few spinners and try to work them as close to the bottom as possible, and get it to do a sine wave, up and down, coming to you, up and down, coming to you. Really is one of the best ways to fish for the trout at Lake of the Woods. Now, I have tried this too. I've put a little bit of power bait, just about a pea size, on the hook. And so I've done that, and and I've used that in order to entice the fish just a little bit more. It works sometimes it doesn't. So the technique in order to catch trout is not very difficult at Lake of the Woods. So you're going to also start to catch a lot of other things too in a very finesse way. The crappie love to hit these things too. So, I might give some prizes away for crappie too, but it is the most perch. Okay. The person who catches the most perch. Now we want to keep it honest. Please keep it honest, because I kind of think that families sort of pitch together in order to create a group catch. If indeed there is a group catch where there's more than one person catching that bucket of fish, we will give a prize. I'll give a prize away to them, but they're not going to qualify for the one where one person is going to catch 150 fish. You got to be honest about this. And when it comes to fishing tournaments and derbies and tournaments are really on the honor system for the most part. Now, there are professional tournaments, they actually go through lie detector tests, and they go through magnometers and things like that in order to make sure that they're not weighting the fish. Well, we don't do that. We don't do that. We really are on the honor system. And I don't want to, I would hate to see a boat go out with 5 guys and then come back with 5 trout, and they all say, he caught it. All 5 of them. Well, not too likely. Just not too likely, is it? So, honesty. Honesty is a good virtue to have in a fishing derby. Now, I have lots of prizes, so you don't have to worry about not getting a prize. You just don't. And I know we get competitive. I've got some really cool prizes. Not just baits, but I have a fishing reel too that we're going to give away too. Really good fishing reel. And I probably got some more stuff. I got a lot of stuff. I love making sure that everybody is happy as much as I can. So at Lake of the Woods, I've given you some really good tips on where to fish. Sunset Ramp, Aspen Ramp, okay? I've given you some really good tips on what to use, from a spinner to a small jig to... Now, my favorite power bait, I will tell you this is my favorite power bait, and you guys are going to think, I've never heard of that power bait, Mike, but it's called Tequila Sunrise. Now, the Tequila Sunrise power bait is sort of a blue-purple. Now, the cool thing about blue, okay, the cool thing about blue is that blue is the number one identifiable color for trout. So, if you want to really attract a trout, with power bait, Tequila Sunrise is one of the best colors that you could put on a hook to catch a trout. I know people, they have it at the store, at least I hope they do. If they don't, go get it. At another store. Maybe Bymark's got it or someplace. But try to find Tequila Sunrise. I'm sure you can get it on Amazon or wherever. So I'm going to look it up and see what it is. Yeah, it's purple and black. It's called Tequila Sunrise, and this is a really, really good scent and very good color for trout and for perch. But I catch a lot of trout on it, and you can get it on Amazon. It's $6, $5.99. And I think at Lake of the Woods they do stock it because it is one of my favorites. It also is a very good color for a worm. This black and purple, it's a darker worm to use, but black and purple really have a very good refractive quality for catching bigger fish. So if you want to try doing what's called a drop shot, okay, a drop shot is where you put a weight at the end of your line and a hook about 18 inches above it. And you put that hook above it and you put a worm on it. It could be a soft plastic or a regular worm, just a night crawler. And put that 18 inches to 2 feet right in there off the bottom. So you're going to toss this thing out with, quarter ounce weight. Toss it out there and let it sink and just let it wiggle 18 to 24 inches above the bottom of the lake. And it'll be right in that weed line, and the fish will see it and they will come and get it. Drop shots is probably the number one way of catching a bass. It really is. And the bass are deep right now. So if you're in a boat, I would, if you want to catch a nice bass, again, a Ned rig works really, really well right now. I just got over 100 Ned rigs that I ordered from CPF Lures. They got them online for $1.99 for a pack. So I went nuts. And so I got a bunch of them. And I'll be fishing with those this next week. And I'll be doing sort of a warm-up, because I'll be out on the lake next week. and we're in order to sort of test the waters to make sure everybody's going to be catching something, and then I can tell you exactly where to go. So when you come to me in the morning, you could go ahead and just ask me, and guess what? I'm going to tell you, because that's the way I is. I have no secrets. You guys know that. You guys see me on my channel. I tell you where I am. I tell you how I'm fishing it. I tell you how I'm presenting it. When it comes to fishing, it's all about where and how. It's not what you throw. It's where you're throwing it and how you're pulling it back to you. And that really is the way you fish. So you're going to really enjoy the day. And Sunday, again, is a free fishing day. Go to any water body near you, near your home, and have the kids put a line in. And go small, go light, put a little worm, a little power bait on it, whatever. And just have fun, barbecue, and enjoy your time with the kids. Saturday is going to be a wonderful day at Lake of the Woods. I always have a good time. Jade is the manager. She has adopted me as her father. I don't know why. Maybe because we have similar haircuts. I don't know why. But she treats me like my daughter. Gives me just as a hard time as my kids do. But I'll tell you that Jade is an absolute class act. At the marina. I wish I had in my career 1,000 like her. She's really one of the best. And say hi to the owners. The Joel. He runs the marina and the retail aspects of the resort, and that's a lot of work. Diana, you won't see Diana too much, but without Diana doing all the paperwork for the resort, she's the backbone. And George, he's the personality. Okay, and then most of you know John Doherty. John Doherty is a gentleman, consummate gentleman, and I have great respect for the man. So those are the four owners of Lake of the Woods. Good people. They're good people. And remember, when you go, you don't have to check in right away. You just got to check in later. So if you want to get out on the water at 6 a.m. Or whatever you want, get out on the water, start your day really, really early. I will open the booth at 8 a.m. So, or earlier, because I usually do. But we'll open as soon as we can. But you can start fishing whenever you want. You can start fishing at 6 a.m. in the morning or 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. or whatever. It doesn't matter to us. At the end of the day, at 2 o'clock, you got to be at the booth. You just got to be at the booth. And hopefully I'll have some help in order to get dirty and stinky, because we'll just start pulling out fish. And boy, you're counting a lot of fish. And again, if you have a live catch that you can't keep alive for long, bring it in and let me log it in, and we'll release it, right away. So you want to make sure, and don't worry about the size. All right. Because you might be the only live catch for the day. So if you got an 8-incher and you bring it to me, it could be the winner. We don't know by the end of the day. We might get, a 16-incher or whatever. But we want to be able to release it. And I had one little girl, she was probably about 10, a couple years ago. It was about 2 years ago, maybe 3. I can't remember. But, she caught a bass, and it was a cute little bass. It was about 10 inches. I can't remember. And she won because it was the biggest live release that we had that day. And she won this wonderful gift card for Lake of the Woods. So what a wonderful prize that was for her. And she won her first bass tournament. I love it. Just so cute. So cute. So make sure that you don't minimize, all right, your catch. Last year, I think it was last year, the year before, I gave a prize for the smallest fish, 4.5 inches. It was 4.5 inches. Got to give a prize to the smallest fish, right? It's 4.5 inch fish. I mean, there's some talent there. And you should have seen that guy's face when I measured and told him he won. I swear that thing could have been 25-inch fish. He was so excited. So don't minimize what you catch and discount it, because just hit me in my mood. Excuse me. Still working on the lung thing. I'll be better by then. Okay, I'll be better. But this decade that I'm about to start, that I'm starting today actually, is I'm looking forward to a smoother decade by far. My goal is not to be in life support anymore. No more. Don't like life support. It's bad. It's very traumatic, by the way. Yeah. If any of you that struggle with chronic health problems, you will realize that you know what I'm talking about. It's very frustrating. But if you've ever been on life support, it's the most traumatic thing in the world, because a machine is keeping you alive, and you know that. You wake up once in a while and you realize that you're not doing it. Something else is doing it. And it's like being conscious in your own coffin, your own dead body. It is really, really, really weird. But that's enough of that. That's enough fishing. You just suck it up, right? When I was in football, walk it off, Rufino. Walk it off. Yeah, you're tougher than that. Yes, I played football. I played everything when I was a kid. When we were kids, we played outside. The book that I'm hopefully going to have for you guys is the one called "Terrible at Fishing Instruction Manual for Freshwater Fishing." This manual will teach you the basics of the gear that you will need, and then basics of fishing certain species like bass, trout, panfish. But you will learn how to buy a fishing pole. When you go into a store, a big store. I was in Shields, okay, in Sparks, Nevada recently, and Shields is huge store. It's got a Ferris wheel in it. That's how big Shields is. It's got a big Ferris wheel in it. And then I went upstairs to find the fishing department, and above the fishing department, upstairs, there was a seaplane, a real seaplane suspended above me. Big store. So you go into these stores and you see lines and lines and, arches, just tunnels of fishing poles. And then, if that's not bad enough, you have rows of fishing reels. And then, if that's not bad enough, you got fishing line. Okay? And then, what do you put on the fishing line? It drives you, it will drive you nuts. So, in this book, I teach you how to shop for a rod and a reel in a menagerie of confusion. And that's what's so much fun about it. The book itself is very, very simple. And I'll tell you, even my business book is very, very simple. Typically, I like to keep my manuals and instructionals under 100 pages. Although my science fiction books are much longer than that. I do have science fiction series called the Rising series, the Phoenix Rising, Orion Rising, There was a third book I was going to do, but then I suffered my traumatic brain injury thing. And I'm thinking about writing it because my brain's starting to work a little bit better nowadays. But to do the final book. But those two books really do tighten up the story pretty good, and leave some imagination at the very, very end. So we'll get those. We'll hopefully get that book. And then I'm going to have a copy of the books. I do have one here. And excuse me. So you guys can see what I wrote. And you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon. All my books, most of my books are available on Amazon. And so if you look up Michael Ruffino, I am not the punk rocker, drug addicted dude that cusses on the cover. I don't do that. But this one's Terrible at Fishing. So if you typed in Terrible at Fishing, you'll pop it up right away with my name. And then you'll see my other books under my name of Michael Ruffino. But this is hopefully we'll get these in here. They're actually published in Oregon. I want you to know that. I mean, think about that. I mean, it is a book that's written and published in Oregon, in Troutdale, Oregon. They published this. This is where they make the book. The last chapter is on ice fishing. I probably scare you off of the ice, but I want you to be so safe walking out on the ice, because I've fallen through the ice, and I want to make sure that when you guys go ice fishing, that it's safe for you, and that you take all the precautions to make sure that you are not going to get lost under the ice. And Lake of the Woods is really good at testing ice, measuring ice, and giving you safety tips. In February, we also have an ice fishing festival. And that's a lot of fun. So you're going to, this book, oh my goodness, you guys are going to love this book. Understanding the bottom of a lake, understanding where the fish are, where they go in certain times of seasons. All those things are very important. So the book itself is designed to just help you. So hopefully, I only ordered 20, but if you want one, just go to Amazon and grab one, and get one on Amazon, because it's and then just bring it to the lake, and I'll sign it for you. There you go. It's only $12 on Amazon, and I'll sign it for you when you bring it to the lake. I also have a visitor's guide for the lake too, with really cool lore. In fact, let me see if I can pull it out here. And yeah. So, all right. So there, I put in the back of the visitor's guide for Lake of the Woods. It's called The Jewel of Klamath County, I think is the name of the book. And in the back, I put some strange but true stories of Lake of the Woods. So I want you to realize, this is true. This is actually true. So there was a 100-pound unexploded ordnance that was found about 100 feet from the marina in about 45 feet of water. Yeah, it was an actual bomb. See, back the Navy used to use the Lake of the Woods back in World War II as sort of torpedo runs, and in order to for target practice. Well, there was actually, I guess they forgot one. And so they actually found this, divers found this bomb, and it was probably one of the original targets that the Navy used on torpedo runs. And so a bomb disposal crew was summoned from Kingsley Airfield. And after a few hours, they removed it and said it was no problem. And I'm sure that the divers that found it, they didn't think so either. And then here's another really cool story about Lake of the Woods. The most famous crash, airplane crash, was in August of 1948. A bakery owner and a GOP politician of Medford was flying his election committee along with GOP leaders Earl Johnson, H. Evans, and John Snellstrom, and they all perished. He had a house on the lake, and he was flying a new Beechcraft Bonanza, and it had a nickname referred to as the Doctor Killer. Why would you buy a plane that was called the Doctor Killer? I don't know, but because it had a tendency of slipping when it was banking. So the plane went into a nosedive about 250 feet up, and as the left wing hit the water, it cartwheeled and settled in 15 feet of water, about 200 feet from the shore. What makes the story so weird, and this is where the conspiracy theorists really come into play, what makes it so odd is that when recovery was made of the wreckage and the passengers, a barbed wire bound body was discovered. Now you can let your imagination run wild on this. Horace Evans, one of the dead, was a key member on the Manhattan Project. Some thought he was a shoo-in to be the next governor of the state of Oregon. But who was that body? And why was it bound in barbed wire? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. And he was never identified. Ooh. Anyway, I put stories like that in there because you got to have ghost stories, right? You got to have ghost stories in a book about the resort because when you buy it, I don't even know if they sell it there, but you can buy it online. I love writing. 8 books I've written, and they range greatly from instruction manuals to business books to visitors guides to science fiction, adventures. I have a very overactive imagination. My father, who was not a good father, but my father was a syndicated cartoonist. He was syndicated in his cartoon strip was syndicated in 3 countries, and it was entitled Goonies. I know, Goonies was shot here in Oregon, but the movie had nothing to do with my father's cartoon. He had it trademarked, so I don't know what Spielberg did, but Dad was part of the Cartoonist Guild. He was friends with Schultz and all those other people, but he also was a published author like I am. So he wrote children's stories, which is odd because he was kind of a weird guy. But nonetheless, I guess I got some of that from him. So, but nonetheless, I want you guys to put down the 21st, Saturday the 21st. Go to Lake of the Woods, have fun, catch fish, meet me, help me. I'll make some baits. We're going to give away a lot of baits that I made and other stuff, fishing poles and stuff like that. And that other stuff that I've got hanging up here in my studio that we'll put in the giveaways. But I want you guys to have a really good time on the 21st and the 22nd. The 22nd it's a free fishing weekend. You don't need a license. Just grab a pole and hit a waterway, whether it be Lost River, the Williamsons, or whatever. I mean, definitely hit the Williamsons. That's a good one. Lost River is not bad either. So, I mean, really, woods. I mean, just find some water. I mean, just have fun. So we'll have Ken here next week. Ken's had some car problems and all that fun stuff, and so you gotta had to undergo me. So on my birthday. So the 60. Yeah, be kind to an old man. I'm in my 60s now. Ay, 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 ay. Anyway, Ken and I always tell you the same thing. Pack in, pack out. Always leave the area that you go to better than when you found it. So please respect nature, have fun, and never forget where you are at.